From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
We're back on the podcast. Gosh, it's too bad we don't have much to talk about today. My goodness.
I know.
I'm Dale. He's Kurt. My good friend Bob Watson, State Farm insurance agent for 50 years in Blue Springs at 7th and Main in Blue Springs. You can reach him at 816-229-7878, auto, home, life, commercial insurance. He'll insure anything that's important to you. And if it's important to you, you ought to have insurance on it. And State Farm is the brand you trust. Bob Watson has been doing it for 50 years. Let's put those things together to benefit you. Bundle your home and car insurance and save even more with State Farm and Blue Springs State Farm agent Bob Watson, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. He's officed out of Blue Springs, but the boundary means nothing. He can take care of you in Lenexa. He can take care of you in Lee's Summit. 816-229-7878. The news is moving very fast. Faster than it's moved in a while. In fact, I usually put the notes together for this podcast on Sundays, and as soon as I hit send to Kurt, Joe Biden sent something to, who did he send it? The media? Or do you transmit that to Congress? I mean, I don't know. Who's the letter addressed to?
Well, he tweeted it on his Twitter account, or X account, and it's already been made very clear that he doesn't actually tweet anything, and he probably didn't write that either. So Somebody wrote a statement for him that was tweeted on his behalf on his Twitter account.
We'll get to Joe in a second. We're going to put Donald Trump first on the podcast with the latest on the attempt on Trump's life. Senator Johnson on the Homeland Security Committee, they are investigating this thoroughly, and he released a preliminary report on this. I saw him on Fox News over the weekend with Maria Bartiromo, and boy, there were some fascinating things in that report.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend everyone go read this. You can go to ronjohnson.senate.gov, but he has a bunch of stuff that he puts on here. So, like, this is kind of a breakout of some of the big key items. Number one, Secret Service did not attend a security briefing provided to local special weapons and tactics and sniper teams the morning of July 13th. So there's a bunch of stuff. Local law enforcement said communications were siloed and they were not in frequent radio contact directly with Secret Service.
Now, what he means by that, just to clear that up for you, is they were on different frequencies.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you want to be on coordinated frequencies?
Yep. Number three, local law enforcement notified command about the shooter prior to the shooting and received confirmation that Secret Service was aware of the notification.
Wow.
Yep. Following the shooting, Secret Service was seen on the roof of the building with local law enforcement, and photos of the shooter were sent to the Bureau, to the ATF for facial recognition. Secret Service was initially not going to send snipers to the rally, according to local law enforcement. I mean, when's the last time you've seen any, event with a president or presidential candidate where there's not snipers? There's always snipers.
As we're recording this podcast, the head of the Secret Service, who in my opinion should have resigned, if you are the head of an agency and you have an epic fail like that, you should fall on your sword and resign if you are in public service. And if you don't, you should be fired by the president. Neither one of those things happened. And I saw right before we hit record on the podcast that in her opening statement in Congress, she took 100% responsibility for it, going to study it, make sure it never happens again.
So she's not resigning? Because I had heard that she might resign today.
Well, she hasn't as of the beginning of this podcast. But again, the news is happening fast, which is why you need to follow us on our Facebook page, because when news breaks, that's where we're going to comment on it. The analysis, the in-depth analysis, comes on this podcast. And it's funny because I know my friends on the left, a lot of them hate listen or hate watch the podcast, and they like to get snarky in a keyboard warrior fashion online. And I invite all of them. You've seen it, Kurt. I invite them all. Come on, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
The last one who got snarky with me used to work here. He did weekends on KFKF, and he lives in Florida now. And, he commented on one of the reels that you put up, and he said, gosh, you're wrong on everything, but hey, at least you're showing some leg these days, because apparently you got a little low on the camera angle, and I was wearing shorts that day. So he was more impressed with that. And I said, you'd be a perfect person to come on the podcast. We'll Skype you in from Florida. And he gave me this really long-winded thing about, again, I don't know what the deal is with people who think we edit people.
I don't get that either.
On the podcast. We don't.
I will clear the air completely right now. I make no edits to this podcast. The only edits I make is if there's a pause, like if
equipment breakdown or something.
Yeah, we lose a piece of paper, there's a misplaced piece of paper in the notes, or something like that. It's all technical stuff. I've never one time made an editorial cut. Not once.
Trump derangement syndrome that some of you people have on the left about Donald Trump, a man who was president of the United States for 4 years, is just unreal to me. Representative Ronnie Jackson was on that same show with Maria Bartiromo talking about the injuries to Donald Trump. Now, Ronnie Jackson is a physician. He was the White House physician to Bush 43, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. Okay, so Keith Olbermann takes to the X platform, and I put this up on my Facebook page because I just couldn't believe it. Olbermann is so unbalanced. Really, he and Joy Reid should get married. I don't know if they both have spouses, but if they don't, if they're both single people, they should get married because they have a lot in common. Okay, so Olbermann puts up a tweet on X. It says, in brief, Ronnie Jackson isn't a doctor, which is perfect, because Trump wasn't hit by a bullet. There are people on the left who believe this. There are a growing number of people on the left who think that this is all made up, that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Or some of the really whack jobs out there think that Trump set this up to give sympathy to himself. So if you believe that, you have to believe that Trump set it up for a 20-year-old sniper to get through the security web, right? Set up, fire how many bullets he fired.
I think 7 or 8.
Kill a guy, gravely injure 2 other people, and Trump was just going to get, flicked on the ear.
Yeah. This is another tweet from Keith. He says, a reminder that there is still no evidence Trump was hit by a bullet and still lots of evidence he's lying about it. And that was on, what is today, the 22nd? That was yesterday.
Yeah.
And the fact is, that's just a lie. I mean, there's tons of evidence that he was obviously shot.
What came out right after the shooting from ABC was that maybe he got hit by a piece of flying glass that came from the teleprompter. And I thought about that for a second, and then I went back and I looked at the pictures because, hey, don't take our word for anything. Don't take the media's word, because we're going to get into this whole Biden thing, and we've been saying they've been lying to you. We are absolutely right that they've been lying to you. But if you go back and you look at the pictures after the shooting, the teleprompter pieces that you usually see when a politician gives a speech, it looks like 2 screens, right?
Right.
On either side of them. Those are glass.
Right.
Now, Kurt, you're more of a gun guy than I am. If a bullet went through that screen, what would happen to that screen?
It would shatter for sure.
Completely shatter, right? Yeah. It's completely intact. So maybe the teleprompter just didn't get hit by a bullet. It's it's duh. So maybe he did. And the picture that we showed on the podcast, and you've seen it everywhere, is the hypersonic picture of that bullet going by after it got Donald Trump's ear. So any of you who think you want to engender sympathy, and you think you can do it by getting winged by a bullet, I encourage you to try it.
People were even saying that they had him shot in the ear on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is so ridiculous. I mean, first of all, I don't trust the most trained, I don't trust John Wick, with to shoot me in the ear. It's all right, now hold still.
Yeah.
Hold your head just that way, no way.
Well,
no
Trump
way.
derangement syndrome is an incurable disease. Those who have it on the left cannot be cured, cannot be convinced. And I don't know, maybe 4 years down the road when Donald Trump can't run again, I know these people are convinced that when he wins, that he will never leave and we'll have a dictator for life and we'll never have another election in this country again. Can you imagine? Do you think Republicans would allow that? We're the people who've read the Constitution, who love the Constitution. We're not the ones who are is that in the Constitution? Well, let's find a workaround. Constitution. It's an old piece of paper. Nobody gives a shit anymore. We're the people who follow the Constitution and love the Constitution. So we wouldn't allow that, even if he would want to do that. I don't think he does. J.D. Vance was his pick, and I think he's grooming him to be the next president. Don't you?
Yeah, certainly seems that way.
All right, so where are we going with this? Is there more TDS to talk about?
Yeah, we've got a couple more videos. This is Michael Steele. You had put this in.
Now,
notes.
Michael Steele, just so if you don't know, was the head of the RNC, the Republican National Committee. When
That's this guy here, right?
when Donald Trump emerged, he lost his mind. Apparently he lost his hair too. His hair got on fire, I guess, and it went off the top of his head. He has TDS as bad as Joy Reid, as bad as Keith Olbermann. Yeah, he's got it.
Night in the Band-Aid. That's fine. Where I am at this point is it's been 3 days going on 4 since this horrific event occurred. A person lost their life, 2 have been severely injured, and yet we've not received a medical report from the hospital, nor have we received a medical report from the campaign or from the Trump organization about the extent of the damage to his ear. If he was shot by a high caliber bullet, there should probably be very little ear there. And so we'd like to know that. Is there cosmetic?
That's another sign of people that just don't know anything about guns. And there's already been a couple of really good videos on YouTube by like gun channels that are debunking this. I watched the one that Brandon Herrera did, and they took pretty much the exact same rifle that allegedly the shooter had and shot through the ear of a ballistic dummy. And the ear is like cartilage, you know, especially if you just nick it. It's not going to like blow up your ear or blow up your head or anything like that.
Well, I love how Michael Steele and all these people are experts on everything.
Right.
They're doctors, you know, they're ballistics experts.
Right.
You know, the people who say that, you know, he's just wearing that bandage on his ear to engender more sympathy. It's more of a prop. And then I heard Ronnie Jackson yesterday talking about it. And, you know, he's the doctor treating him. And, you know, there's an infection issue going on there. So they've got to keep it covered. He talked about where the bullet went through, as you say, and there is a nick out of the ear now, and it bleeds profusely. It's still bleeding, which is why they've got to keep it bandaged, keep a treatment on it. I mean, that's the doctor who treated the last 3 presidents.
Right.
So I trust him, and he is a medical doctor. I looked it up, Keith.
Unlike Dr. Jill Biden.
Yeah, and you should look it up. You know, Joy Reid, you know, we love Joy Reid. Joy, as you said, is the gift that keeps on giving. God love Joy Reid. When she talks about how, you know, getting shot is pretty much the same as, you know, getting over COVID, right?
Oh, yeah. No, there. I had 2 Joy Reid clips picked.
You want to go with yours first?
Well, yeah, we could play both. Because
Okay.
she actually did kind of deny. She had a similar, you know, denial of the shooting itself as well.
Okay, let's hear it.
So here's what that was. This was from maybe a day or 2 after the shooting.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet.
You might not.
Whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, you know, and presidential candidate. We know almost nothing.
You know almost nothing.
That much. We know that 3 people were shot. 1 person, unfortunately, was killed at the rally. We don't know where they were sitting or standing relative to him. We don't know why, for 9 full seconds, Donald Trump was allowed to stand back up during an active shooter situation, even though they, at that point, had said the shooter was down. How would they have known if there were more shooters or not? Nobody knew.
Yeah, with that security, who would know?
5 shooters for all they.
Just low IQ stuff right there.
I do agree with that last
she
point.
Has the black Superman shirt on.
I do agree with that last point that they allowed him to stand up. How did they know that was the only shooter? You know, there could have been others.
Well, yeah, but if you watch the tape, I mean,
given that lax security,
he was standing up to be escorted off the stage, and
Right.
he said, "Wait a minute," while they're all around him, and you know, it's not like they're just like, "Okay, here's the stage, Donald, do your photo op." You know, like, come on.
Well, and then when Biden was out there at the NAACP conference, and I don't know how much we're going to crap on Biden today because he's out. you saw him, old grandpa, walking up the baby steps to Air Force One, and then just the interminable video footage of him trying to get into the limousine, which is painful to watch.
Yeah.
He got COVID somewhere, right? He's out there shaking hands, kissing babies, and either he's the spreader or they're the spreader. I don't know. He's 81 years old, and so he was going to recover over the weekend at his beach home. And Joy Reid couldn't help herself, old man with COVID, old man getting shot in the ear. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, this
right?
is so good. Oh, my goodness. Joy Reid, again, the gift that keeps on giving. Here we have it one more time.
That I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days, doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
It
I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
Well, she tried to clean it up there at the end.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
It's not exactly the same, but it's the same thing.
It's not, but she said it, she kind of said it again at the end. She's like, well, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same. It's exactly the same. But I wanted to real quick make a point on that too, and I put it in the notes, but I don't know if you remember the Alex Jones situation, back during the Sandy Hook school shooting.
Right.
He was speculating about, and I've watched a lot of the footage, he was speculating. He wasn't like, this is for sure, it's a fake, whatever. But he was speculating that it could have been faked or it could have been, paid actors and things like that, which was obviously incorrect. But he was sued by the families of Sandy Hook for billions of dollars. He's now bankrupt. They're coming after his media company. I mean, what's going to happen to these people? The president of the United States was shot. A guy died. And you have Keith Olbermann on Twitter saying, he didn't get shot. This is fake. It's an inside job. Are those people going to get sued? Are the people that lied to us about Joe Biden's health going to get sued? We'll get to that later. But it just exposes the double standard because these people can just get away with this. They can just say whatever they want. They can say whatever stupid shit, whatever conspiracy comes to their mind. They don't lose their job. They don't lose any of their credibility. They still have the same 15 viewers that they had before. And
17 counting us.
Yeah, 17.
I hope not, because we make a lot of hay with Joy Reid videos in particular. I mean, they're pretty funny. We need her to stick around here. So there were growing calls for Biden to leave the race going into the weekend. I think it got up to like 39 Democrats on Capitol Hill called for him to step down. And, these are the same people. I want you to remember this. These are the same people who say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. What's the definition of democracy? They went through a primary deal, right? And Joe Biden got 15 million votes. There was no serious Democrat who went up against him. So that's what democracy is, picking the candidates moving forward. Well, as we get closer to it, and it looks like, Donald Trump is going to be reelected, and the polls keep sliding for Joe Biden, now they want a do-over. So it's just like anything else with the Democrats. If they don't like the outcome, it doesn't matter, how it's steeped in history or precedent or tradition, we'll just throw it out and we'll just start over.
Yeah, so everyone that voted in the primary, your vote doesn't count. Because your vote gets thrown out.
Well, they're going to do a special primary now. So I don't know, they're still in disarray. And here we are, as this podcast drops on Wednesday of this week, we're 103 days away from Election Day. And that doesn't sound like very far at all. And then when you think about early voting in states, you're talking 60 days out. And there are states out there who don't know who to put in the column there for the Democrat running against Donald Trump. Because they don't like the outcome, so they're going to throw the old guy out, and they finally pulled enough strings. God knows what they promised him behind the scenes. Maybe Hunter's getting a pardon. I don't know. Do you know? I mean, they had to promise him something.
I don't know. Like I said before, I think they probably could have just told him that he said he was going to drop out and he wouldn't remember anyways. So then he was like, oh, okay.
And, they all lied to us. The White House lied to us. The media lied to us. They were the ones out there saying, oh, yeah, behind the scenes, this guy's running circles around everybody. Karine Jean-Pierre says, Joe Biden is the best communicator that we have in the White House. I mean, they lied to us. We were lied to. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, shit, Trump's coming back. We got to do something here. So now they want to throw the old guy out, and they're going to throw I kind of feel bad for Joe. I do, but I don't. And now on the left, what you're seeing is, what a great statesman. He's doing this awesome thing because the future of this country is so important after a 50-year career in Washington. Now, the way I look at that, he's been on the public dole for his whole life. And the little salary that he got, that was like a tip. He was using this to feather his own nest. You don't get millions of dollars on the side and a beach home in Rehoboth or wherever the hell that is, and all the other things that Joe Biden has on your public salary. So he used these offices, the Senate, the vice presidency, and the presidency, to feather his own nest. So I don't know that I'm going to say, wow, what a 50-year selfless career, Joe.
Yeah.
Awesome job.
No way. We're not going to say that here.
I mean,
and we can.
And you're hearing it, right? It just.
Oh yeah.
You just want to roll your eyes. It's like,
I think the most interesting thing about all of this is going to be the spin. How does the media, how do the Democrats spin this and quickly pivot to Kamala? And you're already seeing it. We'll go through some of the examples.
Well, before you get there, I want to put this in historical context.
Yeah.
When I was 5, so long before Kurt was born, this country was in turmoil, and it's kind of like reminiscent of where we are today. The 1968 presidential election was coming up. LBJ was very unpopular because of Vietnam in his case. Biden, you could have like 15 reasons he's unpopular, but very unpopular. In March of that year, not July, in March of that year, LBJ went on television and said, I am not going to be my party's nominee for the presidency. Gave him a lot of notice. Okay. They still got to Chicago for the convention. They're going to be in Chicago this year for the convention. And it was a complete, total shit show. And Vice President Humphrey ultimately was the nominee for the Democrats, and Richard Nixon drilled him in the general election. So we'll see if history kind of repeats that process, but that's where we were in 1968. And LBJ went on television. We, at this point, recording this podcast, we haven't seen Joe Biden. We didn't even see a picture of him to go with the statement. Is he alive?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, is it Weekend at Bernie's at the White House? And if he can't run for president, how can he serve as president for the next 5 months?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great point, is that how do we, I mean, look, his cover photo on Facebook or on Twitter has already been changed to Harris for President, Kamala Harris.
He's out. And his schedule for the week, there are no events.
And so yesterday, when was this? I don't know, midday around noon or 1 o'clock, he put out this statement on Twitter. It does say, I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. And then right after that, he put out this tweet. Now, obviously, this is a picture that was taken before yesterday of him and Kamala, but it says, my fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president. Was that your first decision? And it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So she is 100% the choice. I mean, it's impossible for them to go back on that, especially he's endorsed her. She's accepted the endorsement. She said yesterday, on behalf of the American people, I thank Joe Biden for his extraordinary leadership as president of the United States and for his decades of service to our country. I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. So,
well, she should invoke the 25th Amendment then and get with the rest of the cabinet and give herself a head start into being the president, right?
That would be funny. That would be funny if she was like, thanks for the endorsement.
Yeah.
Now let's get you out of here a little early, Joe.
If he can't, and I'm telling you, Kurt, it's going downhill fast. We've been talking about this for at least 2 years on this podcast. And when you see the video of him walking up the baby steps of Air Force One, not even the big steps that all other presidents go up, he can barely make it up that. And did you see the video I was talking about where he was trying to get in the limo?
Oh, yeah. Let me find that.
Oh, my God. It's painful to watch that. He's going downhill really fast. And anybody who told you that they thought he could not only win this election coming up, but serve for the next 4 years, I don't know what the hell they're smoking. I guess it's legal in Missouri now.
U.S. event in Nevada, and that was you saw him just sort of.
No, that's where he's getting on the steps. When he got off of Air Force One.
Well, we talked about this before
back.
too, but he used the baby steps on Air Force One.
He always uses them now.
Yeah.
And he stops when he's going up those steps that you're showing on the video. He stops a couple of times.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the one I'm talking
This is the
about.
one? Okay.
Yeah. Now watch this.
It almost feels weird talking about this because it's like he's not even relevant anymore as of yesterday.
He's relevant, Kurt, because he's the president of the United States.
Yeah, he's not in charge of anything, though.
All right, I'm going by that guy.
Where's the chocolate chip ice cream?
He didn't salute the Marine. Oh, now he's going. Going for the glasses.
Okay.
And there's that black guy that's running the Pentagon over there. He said, remember, did you see that?
He called him the black guy, yeah. There's too much to even, I mean, it's like constant now.
Yeah,
but
he couldn't remember the guy. So
yeah.
he gets, trust me on this, he gets in the limo and it takes forever for him to get situated in the limo. So he's going downhill fast. And I think it is of concern because he's the guy with the nuclear codes until January 20th of next year.
But again, he's not in charge of anything. I mean, he is the figurehead for the party. He's being propped up and put out there, flown around on Air Force One. He's not making any decisions. I'm fully convinced of that at this point. He's not in charge of anything. So I don't think you have to worry about an 80-year-old dementia patient with the nuclear codes because he's not in charge of that.
Well, you know, I am concerned because, again, I've read the Constitution and I know what Article 2 is, and he is the Article 2 holder.
Do you think they're following Article 2 of the Constitution?
They're not following the Constitution at all. When they don't like it, they just kind of throw it out. And you hear what they say. I mean, don't take my word for it. Listen to what they say. It's like the filibuster that would have allowed, you know, Supreme Court justices to be confirmed with 67 votes in the Senate. That became inconvenient for Harry Reid. So they threw that out, remember? And Mitch McConnell said, if you do that, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Here comes Donald Trump, and he appointed 3 very conservative Supreme Court justices for life on a 51-vote margin. Democrats changed things, and then it's like, oh, shit, because now the Republicans are using it against us. What bad people they are. It happens all the time. They want to pack the court. You know, it's like, it's not fair. There aren't enough liberals on the court, so let's pack the court. Biden, one of the last things that he said to the NAACP was, I've got a plan to totally redo the Supreme Court.
Yep.
Not legal, but what the hell? They don't care about legal. Giving away student loans for the rest of us to pay for, they don't care. You know, legal schmiegel. You know, there's nothing in Congress that allows them to do it, but the president's going to do it anyway. So, I mean, that's what they think about things.
Well, here's the new graphic. The new Kamala graphic just dropped. I'm with her. They're rebranding the Hillary messaging to fit to Kamala. I'm sure that they'll have some new branding and messaging and a new website and all that out this week sometime, if not, you know, today or tomorrow. But they're going to pivot quickly, and I'm telling you, you can't see me because I had to unplug my camera, but I'm telling you, don't take her lightly. I want to warn everybody of this right now. Everyone's like, oh, Kamala's a joke. Nobody likes her. True and true. But I think now they actually have an opportunity to kind of have a fresh start. They can get their new messaging out. They can get the messaging out about Biden being, you know, the better man for stepping down.
Which we know is all bullshit.
But I'm just telling you,
Yeah,
I'm telling you what they're going to say.
I know.
And I'm telling you that they're going to do everything they can to rebrand her as a likable person and rebrand this entire thing. And I really want to warn people to not take this lightly, because they really lightly. Can.
Yeah.
It could go either way. It could be a total disaster for them, and Trump could win by 30 points, or they could turn it around and make it a contest again.
Well, let me give you reality versus their spin. The reality is she is tied to Joe Biden like a Siamese twin. Everything that we've hated about what Biden has done since he took over on policy, I'm not talking about people here, I'm talking about policy. Everything that Biden did wrong, she was right next to him. She was the border czar. Her responsibility was the border. How many millions of people got into this country while she was saying that the border is secure? So she's tied to him, okay, on policy. So Trump and his folks need to focus on the policy differences they had with Joe Biden. It's the same for Kamala Harris. Now, here's the spin. The spin is, if you don't vote for Kamala, you're not only a racist, but you're a misogynist. Because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. How dare you say anything negative about her?
Right.
That's their spin. You have to vote for her because she's a black woman. We've never had a woman president. Wow, we could check 2 boxes here and have a black woman as president. Never mind what she did. We know that she was the DEI pick because Biden made that deal with Jim Clyburn. Clyburn said, hey, you want to be president, Joe? You're trailing in the polls. I'll give you South Carolina, and that will be your boost to the nomination. Here's what I want. I want you to appoint a black female vice president, and your first Supreme Court justice, that's a black female too. So why is she the DEI pick? Because she is DEI. He went on every major network and newspaper and all that. When he was looking for a vice president, did he say, I'm looking for the most competent person to step in as president of the United States? No. He said, we're going to find a black woman. It diminished Kamala almost immediately. And Democrats didn't necessarily like her either. She dropped out of that last presidential election with I think less than 1% of the vote. She dropped out before California because she knew she was going to lose.
Yeah.
So, that's the spin versus the reality. We've got to stick to the policies that we know work. When we talk about policies like the border and crime and the global stage, energy, we win on every one of those.
Yeah. Certainly immigration, because she was the border czar. All that Trump has to do now, that'll be interesting too, because there's still a second debate scheduled. So are they going to debate now, Trump and Kamala? I assume so. That'll be interesting. But
if I'm Donald Trump, I'm not going to debate anybody until they sort all this out. She's got to become the nominee. She's not the nominee.
Right.
I mean, she is in your mind, but there's 4,000 delegates on the Democrat side who may have a say in this.
100% she's the nominee. I mean, I'll bet, we could bet on it that she's the nominee. I'd put a lot of money on it.
I'm not disagreeing with you that she might be the nominee, but I'm just saying it's not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I guess anything could happen. When is the DNC convention?
Well, they were supposed to have that virtual roll call, to get ahead of the Ohio law. I think that's coming up on August 7th.
So were they not going to have a convention?
No, they're going to have a convention, but remember Ohio had that law that they had to have the name by such and such date to get on the ballot. So they don't have a name to put on the ballot yet. So I think we'll get to this at the end of the podcast, but I think there are some other things out there afoot that we could talk about. Right now, we need to talk about your roof. Because the condition of your roof after the spring storms into the summer storms that we had, it may be time to have a look at it. If it's been there a while, call my friend Austin Watterson and his company, Royal Roofing and Solar. Let them get on the roof and shoot you straight. And if you've got an insurance claim, they'll figure it out and they'll find it for you. What you don't want is some fly-by-night roofing company getting in there because they pop up everywhere after the latest storm. Get with the guy who did the roof on my house. Very happy with that. And Mike Dale is their solar guy. They can show you how you can put solar panels on that house and, get around Evergy. Right? As the Evergy bill continues to go up and up and up, maybe you create your own power with your house. Solarbyroyal.com, royalcontractingkc.com, and it all ties to one phone number, 816-540-7057. It's the roof on my house. It could be the roof on your house. Trust me, it'll be the last roof you probably put on that house. The other thing that we'll talk about is that 10,000 people a day are turning 65 in this country, and most know little to nothing about Medicare. If you're approaching that age, get with my friends Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker at Medicare Simplified KC. They make Medicare understandable and simple. Any two people who can take a government program and make it understandable and simple, they're people you should have on speed dial. Medicare, not one size fits all, so get the facts that apply to your situation. Medicare Simplified KC, get the answers and know your options. 3600 South Nolan Road, Independence. You can call them at 816-701-6661 or on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. If you know somebody turning 65 soon, or maybe it's you, get on the phone and reach out to those folks. They are good folks. Okay, so before all this happened, before the assassination attempt on Trump, obviously before Biden dropped out of the race, the latest boogeyman that the left is throwing out there, you've seen this, right?
Yeah.
What's he think about Project 2025? Project 2025. What's that all about? And it's like, folks who are in the middle, leaning left, maybe leaning a little bit right, they're like, that sounds really wild. That sounds bizarre. Are they going to take over the government? Is it true? Is he really going to end democracy as we know it? So I thought we should spend some time talking about this because I looked into it a little bit. I tried to buy the book. It's a 950-page book from the Heritage Foundation, and it was sold out when I tried to buy it. If you go to their site, though, you can read it online, and It is long and it is extensive. Like I said, 950 pages long.
This is the book right here. It's called Mandate for Leadership, The Conservative Promise.
Yeah. So here's how I want to couch this. The Heritage Foundation has been around since the early 1970s, all right? Every 4 years, they come out with something like this. Now, when I was a kid, we had what we called the Sears Wish Book. Now, catalog's probably long gone by the time you were around, right, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, we had catalogs, but not a lot of people use them.
Yeah. So at Christmas time, Sears would put out the Sears Wish Book. And kids like me, we'd go through that. Oh, my gosh. I want that. I want that. I want that. And I want that. It's the Sears Wish Book.
It was the Toys R Us when I was a kid.
Okay, so Toys R Us. You want that. You want that. You want that. That's exactly what Project 2025 is. It is a very conservative-leaning organization, and it's their wish book. Now, what I think this election comes down to, if you separate the personalities out of it, you separate Donald Trump from fill-in-the-blank Democrat. You think it's Kamala Harris, whoever it is, fill-in-the-blank. Separate that out. When it comes down to policy, all right, I think on our side of the aisle, either side of the aisle, it comes down to what is the role of the federal government? How much federal government do you want in your life? I mean, in my case, I can say I want the federal government to keep me safe. So I want to have a really good, strong military. I want to have a hard border on the South, okay? I want them to keep the promises of Social Security and Medicare because I've paid into both for most of my life. Beyond that, Kurt, I don't know what I want them to do. Not much, right?
Yeah.
So if you go through this, what you're going to see from the Heritage Foundation, and some of it you're going to disagree with, a lot of it you are going to agree with, they want to take a wrecking ball to the federal government. That's their opinion. Now, we've talked a lot about the Department of Education, which I've always said if I were president, I'd eliminate that on day one. I'd eliminate the Department of Energy on day one. Let's talk about the Department of Education specifically. That was a Carter-era department that was crafted out of the old Health, Welfare, and HEW, Health, Education, and Welfare. They crafted the Education Department out of that. Now, here's a really simple question for you. It's almost rhetorical. Have education standards gone up or down since the late 1970s?
Oh, down for sure.
Way down. So I've always wondered, what is the federal government's role in education? And to me, it's a local and a state issue. It's not a federal government issue. What the Democrats have turned it into is DEI on steroids. CRT on steroids. If you want our federal money, this is what you will teach our children. This is how you will indoctrinate our children. That's why that needs to get out of there. And that's one of the things in Project 2025 is to eliminate the Department of Education, Department of Energy. They've been saying this for years. It's only coming up now because, my God, we've tried to convict him of everything and put him in jail. Somebody tried to shoot him. What do we got left? Oh, we got the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. Okay? Remember the Chevron decision that the Supreme Court came to? You remember that, right? Mm-hmm. I told you of all the decisions they made, this was the most important one because it decimates the executive branch. Okay? Instead of unelected bureaucrats going around making law, it says, Congress, get your shit together, create really strong laws, and the executive branch, your only role in this is to execute the laws that Congress puts in place. Project 2025 takes it a step further. All these millions of federal employees who fall under the executive branch who are there, doesn't matter who wins the election. Okay? Doesn't matter who the cabinet secretary is. Those people are still going to be there, unelected bureaucrats. Well, the Heritage Foundation would, in a simple thing, say, okay, now they're all political appointees. So if you win the White House, you got to fill all these roles. They're political appointees, not the civil service. Now, you may not agree with that, but I think what they're trying to get at is important, and that is that the executive branch has got to stop making law. That is not their role. Read the Constitution. Laws are made by Congress. They're the Article 1 power on purpose because Congress is supposed to be the most important part of our federal government. The executive is the one who executes the laws of Congress. And it's turned on its head. And we've built this hydra that is so humongous. It's the reason we're $35 trillion in debt. It's the reason why, our deficit is, what is it now? $2 trillion? Something like, no, it's $3 trillion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going up $1 trillion every 100 days. Something drastic is going to have to be done. So Project 2025 starts the conversation. But let's say that the fears on the left are true, that Donald Trump is going to come in and, okay, I'm president, Project 2025, do everything that's in the 950 pages. He can't do it. Because of our system of government, whatever he wants to do has to be passed by Congress outside of executive action. And executive action is only supposed to affect the executive branch, the federal government. So, I don't know what the fear is of this other than they don't think low information voters, right? The very lowest of the low. You're not going to read 950 pages. You're not even going to skim the Cliff Notes. You just hear Project 2025. My God, that sounds sinister. Trump's for that? Oh, boy. And your head's going to explode, and you're going to get a mild case of Trump derangement syndrome. I think you can still be cured. I think Keith Olbermann, Joy Reid,
they might be long gone.
They're terminal at this point.
The thing with me, it is a little bit frustrating and confusing because, who's going to read all this? Let's be honest.
Nobody is. That's the point.
And I go through their website, which I did last night, and then when this first came out, and there's no summary anywhere on their website. All that it's pointing to is read this 950-page book. And it's like, why? It seems kind of fishy to me, if I'm being totally honest. Like, why would you allow, if you're part of the Heritage Foundation, you're one of these people, you're one of these contributors, why would you allow the media to completely control the interpretation of this 950-page document? Nobody's going to read it. I mean, I'm a pretty well-informed person. I work 12 hours a day most days. I have a 7-month-old kid. I'm not reading a 950-page book, especially when the news is changing every single day. So what you're doing is you're leaving it up to the media and the left to control the narrative. And you see all of this stuff. I see it all over Facebook. I see it all over Twitter of, normie libs posting these types of graphics where this is all spin. It's like Project 2025 wants to end no-fault divorce, complete ban on abortions. They go down a list. Where's that list from the people who actually put out the damn document?
Well,
it's like, I just don't get it. I don't get why we can't have something concise to actually point to, because it's frustrating for me. I'm hearing all this stuff about Project 2025. I don't even know what it is. And I'm trying to find out what it is without having to read a Wikipedia page or go to a Washington Post article, and I can't do it. Like, where's the actual information?
Well, the Heritage Foundation needs to get their shit together and get that going. But if Donald Trump cannot bat that away because he's already said that's not part of his platform is Make America Great Again, and it's a very simple platform. And I will tell you this, as I said, and I think they ought to use my words, it is for the far right of our party. It's the Sears wish book. That's all it is. They've been doing this every 4 years since the 1970s. No Republican president, Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Bush, or Trump, has used it as a blueprint. Trump didn't use it as a blueprint last time. So think about Democrats for a second. And I'm sure, and I don't even know, I'm sorry that I don't know this. There's got to be a far left think tank, right?
Oh, yeah, there's many.
For Democrats.
Yeah.
So let's go to their website and what they want to do with the country, and let's hold whoever the nominee is responsible for that. Give it a scary name, and that can be the boogeyman for them. I mean, I think they've got enough baggage with just the agenda and the record that they're going to have to run on. But, think about what the far, far left wants to do in this country. They want to raise the minimum wage. Let's say they want to raise the minimum wage to $500 an hour. Sure, you can do that, right? They want to have a guaranteed income. I know that Yang, what's his name? It was Yang, right?
Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
He wanted to have a basic monthly income. What would that have done to inflation? I mean, they don't even think about stuff like this. But the far left definitely has their blueprint for what they want to do with America. Some would say that they're executing it right now. Let's shackle their ankles with that. While they're saying, Project 2025, ooh, get the crucifix out. Dracula's in the room.
Right. And you're right that, people are low information voters. They're going to just share the graphics, share the fearful headlines that everyone's putting out and not think twice about it and not actually look into it. But for me, my frustration, like I said, is I'm actually trying to look into it. I don't know whether to say that it's good or bad. Maybe it's great. Yeah. Maybe it's great. Just because people are saying it's far right, okay, I'm pretty right wing. Maybe it's great. But I don't know. And even Trump now is coming out and disavowing, he made multiple statements disavowing written statements. And then here's him at a campaign rally recently. Let's just play this.
And the other side's going around trying to make me sound extreme, like I'm an extremist. I'm not. I'm a person with great common sense. I'm not an extremist at all. Like some on the right, severe right, came up with this Project 25, and I don't even know. Some of them I know who they are, but they're very, very conservative, just like you have. They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right, and they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. They're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
And that's pretty much the whole statement. But that's kind of, to me, honestly, kind of disappointing from Trump, because your message is conflicted there. You're saying you don't know what it is, but then you're also saying that it's far right and extreme. Well, then what is it? If you know what I'm saying? Do you not know what it is, or do you know what it is and it's far right? And you can tell he's just reacting to the media. He's reacting to the media spin, trying to attack him. And instead of punching back and saying, no, you're extreme. This is your platform. You want abortion up to the point of birth. You want illegals crossing through the border. You want inflation. He's saying, oh, no, I'm not extreme. I'm not far right. It's kind of weak sauce, to be honest.
All right. So that's my take on Project 2025. I think it's the wish list of, as he said, the far right. And as I read through it, I kind of skimmed through it, and I saw things in there like get rid of the Department of Education. I'm all for it. My friend in Florida said, you want to get rid of the Department of Education? Absolutely, I do. I want education run by the state and local, closest to the issue, not some federal government saying, okay, if you won't let boys pee in the girls' bathroom, we're going to withhold federal funding from you. I don't think we need that. And I think that's less money we could send to D.C. So there's good stuff like that in there. Did I read the whole 950 pages? Nope. Do I think it's the Republican platform? I do not. And I think that Democrats are taking us down a left hole that we don't want to go down.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So there you go. If you want to get the book, if you can get it, if it's not sold out, or if you want to read it online, it's A lot of reading, 950 pages. You know who could read it, who's a really smart guy? I'll give you some guesses. Our favorite doctor. Kurt's over there. Where's he going? Dr. Mark Taramina, smart guy. Midwest GI Health and Wellness. He's read a lot of books on how to prevent colon cancer. He's really good at that. That's his specialty. So if you have not had your colonoscopy yet and you're 45 years old, you're on the clock. Because we used to say 50, now 45 is the new 50. So book your colonoscopy. Let's find this early. You find it early, you can treat it, and you won't die. Isn't that great? You got a family you want to be around for? Get your colonoscopy. It's that important. We're getting cases of younger and younger people dying from colon cancer. It can be prevented, but you got to get screened. Mark Taramina runs Midwest GI Health and Wellness in Lee's Summit, and they're the best in Kansas City. 4.9 out of 5 stars. Now, if you follow our podcast and you live well outside the Kansas City area, get with a doctor who can do your colonoscopy. Get with your doctor and ask him if it's time to get your colonoscopy. If you're in this town, there's no better place to do it than Midwest GI Health and Wellness. Schedule your appointment. You don't need a referral. 816-836-2200. You'll find their website at midwestgihealth.com. Good folks, and they will take care of you. My wife had her colonoscopy. I don't know if she likes me talking about that or not, but she had
Too late.
Too late. It's out there. She had her colonoscopy, clean as a whistle, at Midwest GI Health and Wellness. Now, if you're thinking about a house, you know, and this is the time of year when you start thinking about that. Maybe your kids are going off to college. You're about to be empty nesters. Maybe you're going to have more kids, right? You need a bigger house. Whatever your real estate needs, and I saw that rates are coming down, and when Donald Trump wins in November, this economy is going to turn around very quickly, and rates are going to come down. So if you want to be ahead of that, be ready for that, go with our guy, Michael Schroer, real estate professional at RE/MAX Heritage. You can find him easily with a phone call at 816-783-5800. That's 816-783-5800. He's a real estate pro at RE/MAX Heritage. He's been doing this for a long time. 35 years of residential and commercial construction experience. First home, forever home, land to build your dream home on, somewhere in between. Michael is going to take care of you. He's licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. He is our real estate pro, Michael Schroer, real estate pro with RE/MAX Heritage. And now on the podcast, we always love having political candidates who are running for office who have been bold enough, brave enough to put their name on the ballot to run for office, and we have another of those right now. Well, we always invite political candidates to come on Dale Carter's America when they ask. And Carolyn Caton, candidate for Missouri House District 33, you asked, and we accommodated. So welcome.
Well, thank you so very much, Dale. It is truly an honor to be here. Thank you.
Now, I want you to know that we did reach out to Chris Sander, who is the incumbent. This is a primary election coming up on August 6th. And any time that there's a primary going on there, we reach out to the incumbent. And he declined to be on this broadcast or whatever. So the floor is all yours to tell us about you and why, because you're a political novice.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Why you decided to throw your hat in the ring.
That's a great question. I really wish Chris would have been here. It would have been fun to have a good debate.
It's interesting because, he made some comment about he doesn't want to be subject to editing that we might do because we're taping this, obviously, to drop in a podcast form later. And I don't think we've ever edited anybody who's come on this podcast.
Wow.
And we're not going to edit you. So whatever you say is what's going to go.
Well, fantastic. So, yeah, that's a shame. That would have been a lot of fun. But I'm here, and I'm so very happy. And as I said, I feel very honored and privileged to be here. So the main reason I decided to run, a couple years ago, I was elected as secretary for the Jackson County Republican Committee for the party. And we were at a meeting, and Chris displayed some erratic behavior. He was very upset and caused some commotion and caught my attention. And I thought I'd like to know more about this person. He's my state representative. And found out that he really hadn't sponsored any bills that went anywhere down in Jefferson City that I'm aware of. and that there just seemed to be a lack of really representation for District 33. So I was hoping someone was going to step up and run. No one did, so I prayed about it. I spoke with my family and just took a lot of discernment and decided that I'll do that. I'm going to step up. I'm going to run against Chris Sander. And I have not regretted it, and mainly because of his voting record recently has not been representative of the constituency in District 33. So I'm happy I made this decision. I'm very tired.
I'll bet.
We have 2 weeks from tomorrow is the election day, so we're hitting it hard.
Yeah. So District 33, I know you live in Blue Springs, as do I. What else does that encompass?
So I start on I-70, and I head out south straight through Lake Lotawana out to Lone Jack. I go east. I have a little bit of Grain Valley, a little bit of Oak Grove area, and I actually have Lake Tapawingo. I don't know how that got carved into that,
Who
that
knows,
district, right? And then I have the eastern portion of Greenwood. So it's a pretty good sized district.
Yeah. So you mentioned your opponent, Chris Sander, and some of the things that he has sponsored, the things that he is behind. And again, I'll point out to all my Republican friends, we gave him the opportunity to be on the podcast, and he declined. Actually, he didn't reply to my last offer to him, which was to come on at the same time that you're on and maybe have a little counterpoint. Didn't want to do that. Again, we don't edit guests. We let you say what you want to say. So what are your concerns with him as your state representative?
So there's a few bills that House Bill 419, which would prohibit any procedures from doctors for transgender surgeries, puberty blockers, and things of that nature. Again, that's House Bill 419. So to prohibit, meaning that you would want a yes vote to prohibit. He voted no. So he wanted to allow transgender procedures on minors, on children. And I cannot accept that. I'm not for that and any stretch of the imagination. And he was one of the only, if not the only Republican to actually vote no on that particular bill. There was also House Bill 183, which is Save Women's Sports. And again, it was to prohibit biological boys from competing in girls' sports. And you would want a yes vote to prohibit that. Once again, he voted no, along with the Democrats, on that particular bill. And then in the last weeks of session, House Bill 2619 would prohibit DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in state programs, hiring initiatives, and so forth. Again, that's 2619. Feel free to look them up and you can read them yourself.
I think Kurt's doing that as we're doing this.
Fantastic. I actually have copies of the bill with me if you'd like to see them.
Okay.
But again, he voted no to not prohibit. He wanted to allow it. And I don't understand. He calls himself a MAGA Republican. I don't know any Republican, let alone a MAGA Republican, that would vote the way that he's voted. Again, he also voted on House Joint Resolution, I believe it was 84 and then turned into 31, because I know he's tried a couple times to change a Missouri Constitution that marriage is not between a man and a woman, but between two individuals. So there's a voting record, a consistent voting record that does not support the constituents and their values in District 33.
Yeah.
It's just not represented there.
Obviously, I mean, you saw all that and you said, somebody's got to challenge this guy. I guess it's got to be me.
Well, I'd already made up my mind, but that validated it.
Yeah.
That just validated the decision.
Do you have kids?
I do not. I was not blessed with children.
Yeah.
But I am very, very close to my nieces and my great nieces and nephews, and they are just as much children to me as if I had them of my own, and I'm fighting for them.
I bring that up, because we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. It's one thing to do something that you can't reverse when you're an adult.
Absolutely.
I've got, a friend of mine in the radio business who at 50 years old decided he was a woman, and he went through all of the surgeries and everything to become a woman. You're an adult, you've made that decision. I don't think children necessarily have the agency to make that decision.
They don't. And I also put some blame with the parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a parent, you need to step back and there are children that I have a friend that went through the same thing, 34 40 years ago, quite a long time ago, and made the right decision for that individual, but waited until they were mature enough to make sure that decision is the right one for them. And that's all that I'm asking, is that let children be children, let them play, let them be safe, let them compete against their own gender.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot too.
Yeah, there are only two genders.
Right.
And I may offend some people when I say that, but that is the case.
You're not offending me at all.
Well, good, because there are two genders. And whatever you do to your body, when you die, whatever gender you were born with, that's going to be the gender that you die with.
Yeah. So you talked about, the things that Chris Sanders is supporting that you don't support. If you win this election, what's your platform? What are you going to do?
Okay, so that's a fantastic question. So I am Second Amendment. I am very pro-life. I believe life starts at inception. We've got to get our border. We are a border state. We have more borders than any other state,
right.
And the illegal immigration situation is absolutely out of control, and it is making an unsafe environment for everyone, regardless of where you live, whether you live in the country or the city, it's impacting you. So we all agree on that. A couple things that are really important to me personally is school choice and parental control. And that kind of go hand in hand. I don't think that a child should have to have a poor education based on what zip code that you live in. And I think, and as a parent, you should have that choice of where to send your child to school that best fits their needs as well as the family needs. Mm-hmm. And hand in hand with that, parents need to have a say of what curriculum their children are being taught.
Parents should have a say in everything related to their kids.
Absolutely. They are the ultimate decider.
Exactly.
And it should not be a school system or an individual teacher make the decision of teaching any kind of a social issue or agenda to a child of any age. It should be a parent's decision of what a child learns about sex education or about this gender fluidity or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That is not up to a school or a teacher to make those decisions. That is only should be addressed by the parents when they feel it's the right time to have those types of conversations. And the books that are in the libraries, goodness gracious, I mean, seriously, there's one called Not All Boys Wear Blue, I believe, that is just horrific. And I'm part of a group called We the People. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have heard of them.
Yeah, fantastic group. They meet the first Monday of every month at the Lake Lotawana Sportsman's Club. It's led by Chuck Quisenberry. Matter of fact, the next meeting will be on Monday, August the 5th, right before my primary.
Oh, boy.
I won't be there that night. It'll be the one time I don't go. But they worked very hard to get candidates for school boards,
sure.
Mainly because of the issue with the libraries and the books and things like that. They also have funded a lot of programs and classes for police officers on sex trafficking. So that's great. And I wanted to put a plug in for We the People because they're just absolutely fantastic. School choice and parental control as far as education and curriculum. And then another one that is really personal to me has to do with patient advocacy and rights. My family is going through a situation with a health issue, and we found out that his doctor does not have control over the treatment of his condition, that it is determined by the insurance companies and big pharma, and it all has to do with money. And so we ran into a very bad situation that didn't have to happen if his doctor would have had the control and the say of how things should have progressed.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that we have that control back. It has to be, the doctors have to have that. And also, I'm doing some research. I met a great doctor, and his name's Gail, and he is educating me on informed consent and what that means when we give that to our doctors. It is absolutely scary what happens when you sign that form. Who has access? There is no accountability on who has access. your information can be changed because there is no accountability. So there are some things that are really personal to me that I would like to drive home when I'm in Jefferson City.
Well, you talked about education a little bit, and you mentioned the border states. There are 8 states that border Missouri. You're right. It's the most bordered state. And if you look at Iowa to our north and Arkansas to our south, they've implemented school choice there. This is allegedly a red state. Why haven't we been able to do that?
I think it's a great question, and I don't have an answer for that because I don't understand it myself.
Do you have a candidate for governor that you're supporting?
I do, but I am not going to say, and here's the reason.
Okay.
I have supporters from all of the governors, and I don't want to lose that support. Because honestly, I need that support from every single person. Since Chris is the incumbent, it's going to be an uphill battle. And that's one thing that I feel I can do is that I am able to reach across all lines, and I make friends with everyone in all different types of environments and platforms. And so I've got a tremendous level of support. But I have a feeling we're probably going to be on the same page on that.
Okay. You and I are?
I believe so.
Okay, good. Well, Chris Sanders, his ads that he's running on Facebook have like a red hat over his logo that says MAGA on it. But if he's supporting, kids being able to change their sex, DEI, biological boys playing on the girls' team, that is not red.
It is not red. It is not MAGA. And every time I have a conversation with a person, and I bring up the voting record, and I also bring up what I would like to do in Jefferson City, I win that vote every single time. And we've actually had, it's been really interesting this last weekend because we've had different property owners that have found out about his voting record, and those signs were removed, not by me or my campaign or any of my supporters. But that just shows that people feel that they've been duped, that they are being told, I am this type of person, but the actions do not justify and verify that.
Well, August 6th is the primary day. You brought us some parting gifts. I don't know if I can, you brought us this, which I'll be putting in the front yard. This way. Other way. Well, you're pointing that way. All right, fine. That's going in my yard at Casa del Carter. I do not live in your district, so I can't vote in this thing. And your shoes are awesome. I don't know if we can get a shot of that.
Thank you. Yeah, they're my Trump shoes.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. So Kurt's going to try and get your shoes. There we go. Nice.
That's fantastic.
This is why you want to watch Dale Carter's America and not just listen to it, because we show stuff like this all the time. So we really thank you for coming by here. And you folks who are supporting Chris Sanders know that we did reach out, and it's not too late for Chris to come on. And if he wants to answer what you've said, we'd love to have him too.
Absolutely. And I will offer that if at some point he decides to come on and he would like to have a little candidate debate, I would welcome that wholeheartedly.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. We wish you the best of luck here in the upcoming primary.
Thank you so much, Dale. It's a pleasure. And thank you again for allowing me to be here. Truly appreciate it.
You bet. We're going to be talking about House of Cards coming up, and it is awesome. And what I said of Kevin Spacey this morning on KFKF, his character that he plays in House of Cards is deliciously evil.
Isn't his name Dale on the show?
No.
No. Oh,
no,
okay.
It's Frank Underwood.
Oh, Frank. I thought it was Dale.
With
Underwood.
The initials FU, which it's kind of an underlying thing there. But deliciously evil, almost as delicious as a Funhouse pizza. Jim Dingman, been with us for a while here on the podcast. He's got awesome pizza there. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but I know in our audience we wouldn't give anybody the wrong idea here, but somebody called in a huge order, like 20 pizzas or something like that. And it was a crank call.
Oh, really?
And so they were stuck with like 20 pizzas that they had to throw out. Don't you hate that? Because I'm looking at that pizza right now.
That makes me angry.
A terrible dick move. And you look at these pizzas that he's putting out here at Funhouse Pizza. They're awesome. They're not like chintzy on the ingredients or anything. They pile them high. The beverages are cold, and the atmosphere is fun. Whether you dine in, take it with you, maybe you got a big party going on there, Lee Summit on 50 Highway, Blue Springs on 7 Highway, and if your kid's looking for a gig, maybe their first job, Jim Dingman is the guy that you want to send them to, because he'll fire them up there. You're talking about a Marine. He'll show them the right way. If you're not worried about that sort of thing, and I'm not. In fact, if my kids were of age where they were going to get their first job, my stepson's going to be looking for his first job. I think that, you see that? That's what I'm talking about. That's the Post. Who does that?
$224 order had to get thrown away. Do a prank order and a fake party schedule.
An asshole does that.
Wow.
Is what happened there. So Jim Dingman, good guy, great place. In fact, do us a favor and go there and have some pizza or do a carry-out order or whatever. Help the guy out because he's a great guy. Lee Summit and Blue Springs, 50 Highway Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Another great guy who's been with us for a bit is Bob Watson. He's my State Farm agent. I can speak well of him because he's taken care of my family through a lot. You're talking about 4 boys who got their driver's license and now a stepson who's about to get his driver's license. You have no idea, Kurt. It's going to happen to you too at one point, and it'll happen faster than you think. I know you've got the baby. It'll go just like that. You'll be calling Bob Watson going, oh, geez, Bob, what's this going to set me back? But if you bundle your home and car insurance, you'll save big bucks. State Farm is the name you know. Bob Watson's been doing this for 50 years in the Kansas City metro area, and he'll take care of you. 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, the pontoon boats you see on the lakes. If they're smart, they've got State Farm insurance, and Bob Watson is their guy. Licensed in Missouri and Kansas and ready to take care of you. Okay, we talked about House of Cards. It's time to formally speculate about who the nominee is going to be. You say it's a done deal. It's Kamala. But there are other names out there to consider, right?
Like who?
Gretchen Whitmer?
No.
I mean, okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Gavin Newsom, California.
Not anymore.
That's the guy who's been coming to the White House and measuring the drapes because he sees himself as the president. There was speculation Hillary Clinton might come back.
No. Now it's Kamala. It's Kamala now. I'll tell you what. Again, my camera's not plugged in, so I can't look at the camera when I'm saying this, but let the record show I will give Dale $100 if it's not Kamala Harris.
Wow. I'm not going to take that bet because I think it might well be Kamala. I'm just throwing out the other options out there and knowing that there are 4,000 Democrat delegates, the heart and soul of the Democrat Party, who are going to make this determination. Now, she's out there trying to get them all lined up. So it's like House of Cards. I really wish you had watched House of Cards. Let's see, Michelle Obama.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's speculation about that. And then the funniest one, this really made me laugh. Aaron Sorkin, the guy who created The West Wing, which I thought was a great television show.
I did see that.
Yeah. If we had to have a Democrat as president, I think, Martin Sheen would have been pretty good because every episode came out okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was back when everyone got along,
Yeah.
And even he had an assassination attempt against him.
Of course he did. The show was on for a while. Okay, so he was the guy who in 2012 encouraged Barack Obama to label Mitt Romney as a liar. He's a liar.
Wow, spicy.
I know. Well, that's back when we all sort of got along, right? But, there were people out there that said Romney was the second coming of Hitler. They've said that about Republican candidates for a while now. So Aaron Sorkin, the liberal Democrat who created The West Wing, suggested the Democrats nominate Mitt Romney.
Really?
Now, why would he do that?
That's not a good look for Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Do you know why he said that? He's like, we've got to show that we're above politics, and this is all about keeping a deranged man out of the White House.
Oh, great.
So I would say that Aaron Sorkin also has Trump derangement syndrome.
Sure, sounds like it.
Since we're talking about House of Cards, and not to be a spoiler here for you because you haven't seen it, Kurt, but Claire, his wife, ends up being president. You don't want to get in Claire's way.
Yeah.
Roll the clip.
This is a teaser trailer, so if this is not the exact clip you were looking for, I'm frozen there. If this is not the exact clip you're looking for, I apologize. But this does kind of remind me of like Kamala picking up for Joe. So
my first 100 days as president have been difficult. I lost my
I hope we don't get a strike for this on YouTube.
We were about to celebrate 30 years together.
For a trailer?
I had an agreement.
Francis is dead.
Oh, yeah, probably not for a trailer.
Not by me. Here's the thing. Whatever Francis told you the last 5 years, don't believe a word of it.
A reign of the middle-aged
It was, you can kill it there so we don't get a flag, but it was a great show until that season. So that season screwed it,
women ruin everything.
Spacey, got in trouble, and everybody's banning Kevin Spacey now, but Kevin Spacey made that show. I mean, it was an awesome show. It starts with him being a congressman from South Carolina, and all the backstabbing all the way up to Kevin Spacey becoming president.
I mean, it's kind of fitting, though, that he's playing a president on TV, and he got in trouble for being inappropriate with underage kids. Maybe there's something there.
Possibly. The news moves fast. Follow us where, Kurt?
On Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and audio podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay. Make sure that you subscribe so that whenever we do a new episode, you get it automatically. We'll keep you updated on Facebook as the news moves very quickly. Until we meet again around this microphone, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.